So before we jump into the difference between the CSS profile and the FAFSA and tips on completing the FAFSA, I want to give you an example of how tuition and aid are affected by the income of individual families. Kind of a bird's eye view, a big picture of the college financial scene. So say we have two students. We have Clark and we have Darla. They're both entering the same public state university, which costs about $20,000 in tuition per year. Now, Darla's family makes about $250,000 combined household income, and Clark's family makes about $50,000 combined household income. If these students have the same grades and test scores, they're both probably going to qualify for merit scholarships at the school. But Darla's family probably doesn't need much help paying for what's essentially less than a tenth of their annual income. In Clark's case, there's almost no way his family can support his college dreams. Tuition for 1 year is almost half of their yearly income. So without some additional aid, Clark is probably not attending that college. So while both students with the same grades and scores might receive the same merit scholarships from the school, Clark will also probably be getting some additional aid through the FAFSA, while Darla might not. So let's jump into the FAFSA. The FAFSA is associated with public universities, and every single school will have a FAFSA code. So when you're filling out the form, you should be listing the codes, the FAFSA codes of your top school on that form. The FAFSA also opens October 1st, and I recommend that every family fills out this form immediately as soon as it opens, because some states actually have lesser aid as the months go through the year because so many students are applying. This aid is getting used up. So just be one of the first families that apply to make sure that you're receiving the maximum amount of aid. Now, the CSS profile is different. They actually look for different financial criteria than the FAFSA. The FAFSA, or the CSS profile, is associated with private universities, and it involves institutional aid. So they're pulling their funding from different sources than federal aid. They can pull from departmental sources. They can pull from alumni sources. So they have a lot of different leeway for their aid, so they have different criteria on that form. They're going to ask for more financial information than the FAFSA form does. They ask for more information on your assets and maybe on your mortgage. They dig into your finances a lot more. I recommend that every single family that works with Moon Prep, every single family should apply for financial aid, either through the FAFSA or the CSS profile. A lot of families I know really don't think that they're going to receive any aid from the FAFSA, and since it doesn't really hurt anything, my advice is to always apply for aid right away when the FAFSA opens on October 1st. Another fun fact is that if the school you're interested in has a CSS profile, again, this form has different requirements and financial benchmarks than the FAFSA. So families who don't qualify for aid under the FAFSA often earn aid under the CSS profile form. It's just a thought, and it never hurts to apply, so I do recommend applying. In a 2018 article by Washington Post and NerdWallet, it was shown that 26% of students pay full price at public and private colleges. So of course, we don't know if this means that these students, didn't qualify for any merit scholarships, and maybe they didn't apply for the FAFSA, but these students 26% of students are paying full price, and that's full tuition. That's a very hefty bill. Also, $2.6 billion in 2018 there was unused FAFSA aid for families that would have qualified. And again, we don't know if maybe these students just didn't go to college, but there was $2.6 billion of unused for FAFSA aid, or federal aid, for families that would have qualified if they would have applied. So with all of that in mind, I just really recommend, again, applying as soon as it's open. When you're filling out the FAFSA actually transfers you to the IRS site. There's something that's fairly new in the last few years, which is the IRS data retrieval tool, which just allows you to log straight in from the FAFSA to the IRS site, and then it imports all of your data over automatically. I just helped a family fill out the FAFSA form this week, and it took us less than an hour. It took us about 40 minutes total, and they had never filled it out before. So the FAFSA is not a hard form to fill out. It's not going to take up a week of your time as long as you have all the information ready to go, and you can transfer over to that IRS site very easily, log in, and it just imports all the data for you. So again, I just recommend submitting the FAFSA every year as soon as it opens in October. Every year that your student attends college is a year that you should be submitting the FAFSA just to see if you qualify for any aid. And with that, we conclude our class on the FAFSA and also conclude our course on scholarships. Thank you very much for your time.